What the heck is a deal inspection?
So deal inspection for me is about creating a global language for any business. So no matter whether you're sitting in New York or London, Will, you're following exactly the same process to actually inspect a deal. And I use MEDDPICC, which is a derivative of MEDDIC. And built within that, I've built inspection structures. So what it does is if you're sitting with me as your medical sales rep, I'm going to go through a structured review with you on a weekly basis and set advancement activities directly as an outcome from each review we do, but we follow the same structure. Because it is the key challenge of any sales leader. You can't control what your sales guy is doing in front of the person they're selling to. But what you can do is focus objectives in context, in time, and drive performance. Now, what this does is ultimately drive down deal cycle time and make people sell wider, so increasing average transaction value, which I believe is going to be critical over the next 18 months. I think this is an opportune time to be in sales. I really do.
Because it seems like this is somewhat paradoxical of you'll have some sales leaders, some managers listening to right now who goes, I don't have time to sit down with my sales team and to run through deals and inspect them. But it's paradoxical in the fact that if you do implement this, we're going to reduce cycle time and you can have better results regardless. So your sales team is going to do better. So you're going to have probably less pressure on top of you to run the numbers, do metrics, because we're going to be doing a more efficient job. Is that fair to say?
100%. And this is the typical pushback I get when I start talking. So where I am at the moment, the CRO can review $4 billion worth of business from his coffee table in one single screen. And he knows the next best action on all his top accounts to win. So, for me, that is gold. More insights I can get, the more visibility to my pipeline. Because every one of those sales leaders that would say that to you, they've got a problem with slippage. They all have. So this is a way of reducing that and selling more. So I would say, why haven't you got time to do something to do that?
Yeah, and I'll just play devil's advocate slightly, just to frame this up slightly further. Can this be automated? Can we get our sales team to fill out more check boxes and tick boxes and text boxes in a CRM to automate this? Or do we need to sit down and, heaven forbid, actually coach and work with our sales reps to make this happen?
Well, no, I automate it in Salesforce. So it's a simplistic piece because I don't want my team filling out admin forms. I want them selling. It's the key thing. The Americans talk about two things you know in life, Will, okay? Death and taxes. Nope. The two things we know in life are target and number of days to hit it. That is it. Everything else is noise outside of that. So I automate as much as I can. But the key point is the output you get from it, the consistency of the review, and being able to inspect by a structure that's industry standard that we know drives more sales, but also influences the advancement behaviors of all the salespeople. And if you are a CRO sat there in London and you've got sales leaders all around the world, surely you want some consistency because then you get confidence in your pipeline and you massively reduce slippage. This is the key piece that I've delivered at my last company.
For sure. So you've mentioned consistency, industry standard, inspection, structure. Is there a framework to implement what we're talking about here, Julian?
Yeah, so I use MEDDPICC. So MEDDPICC stands for metrics, which I can go into. Metrics are key. Metrics are cash. So I push people on that into discovery. Economic buyer, decision process. Decision process is key for selling wide, rank versus influence. Decision criteria, reframing your solution. Path to funds. How many times have you heard sales guys have deals slip because someone's on holiday that should be signing? Now those path to funds. Identifying pain. I have a 3-step process for implementing pain, champion, and competition. So that's what MEDDPICC stands for. And if you think about that, that's pretty much the immutable law of selling. It's everything you want to be inspecting and ensuring that your sales team are executing against, because these are all advancement activities. You need a tick in each one of these. And I do a heat map for my sales leaders so they can assess the quality of the MEDDPICC as well. But you know what it does, Will, is that so I work currently for a hardware manufacturer selling storage. And they sell into the data center. And the typical sales model was, I'll put in a proposal and you take it to your boss and he'll sign it off and we'll order more storage. Well, those days have gone because the budget's moved out of the business. So all of a sudden, they have to sell wide by line of business. This is decision process. And for me, understanding the language of your customer, understanding how to reframe your value proposition based on your customer's perception of value is the key to unlocking sales during times of change.
But with that said then, and I appreciate you breaking down the MEDDPICC kind of acronym here, and I wrote it down in front of me, which I took from your book, The Sales Journey, because I can never remember it. But I can never remember it because there's so many steps to it, but it's seamless, the steps. I think you're spot on in the way that it's described there. Of it's a framework that if you tick each one of these boxes, we're almost halfway there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And the key with this, I'm passionate about date-based selling because I would test you now on the two things that we know in life, Will, but I'm sure you'd answer me, target and number of days to hit it. What I do is within that. So, if you say to me, right, Julian, I've got this great deal, I'm going to sign it at the end of March. And I go, fantastic, Will, who's the economic buyer? And you go, I don't know. Guess what? I've got news for you. Have you detailed the path to funds? Oh, no, the guy at the place is doing that for me. You're not going to win it. So what you do is then right from the start of that inspection, you set dates via next best action. Now, what this does in Salesforce is I feed Einstein and I'm getting a whole intelligent sales engine back on what's the best next best action per context of stage. Because sales does follow a path. I believe passionately every sales guy should be agile and be able to sell contextually in any situation, depending on industry, et cetera, et cetera. But I also believe there's repeatable processes. What is best practice? For me, I need metrics and pain in every single business, because if there's no reason to change and I can't tie it back to a metric, i.e. if you don't do this by this date, then it's going to cost you this, I haven't got a sale. So these are the key things to really start driving down deal cycle time, because how many salespeople do you know who they'll spend ages in discovery, numbers of workshops where they're just trying to prove they're the smartest person in the room without understanding what the customer wants to achieve. So just at this point, I'll try and give a number of little tips on here about what I see as world according to Julian now, Will. For me, every sale I go into discovery with this question in my head: what does the QBR look like for my customer 6 months post signing? Because if I can identify and nail that, then I'm selling to what my customer wants to achieve. Because hey, mate, when I started selling right, my perception of selling was 100 cold calls before 12 o'clock, make 12 appointments a week and hit them with as much PowerPoint and discount by Friday, and I'll close as many deals as I can. Well, we both know that doesn't work. With MEDDPICC, what that does is it drives out that level of behavior. It drives out that unstructured, just hitting the door down and doing that. Everything you do is an advancement. So right in discovery, you're thinking about, when I signed those deals in that first job, I'd ring a bell. No customer rings a bell when they sign a deal with you, Will. Never happens, Shows how old I am there. But if you can understand what your customer, what good looks like in 6 months' time, guess what? You're selling to his perception or her perception of value. And that's what a customer buys. Customers don't buy technology, they buy outcomes, I believe.